Hey guys, today I'll be showing you another restoration project I just finished up here. And this video is for Phil, who owns this very nice 74 Minimoog. So this Minimoog was actually built around December 9th, 1974, which is very interesting because the last Minimoog I just restored was around January of 1974. So pretty cool, you know, pretty close relation here. But anyways, what I did this one was I went through the typical stuff, you know, went through every little detail of the synth, keyboard assembly, electronics, pots, you know, switches, etc. here. And I really spent more time in electronics of this one because it had some problems that Phil was really having issues with. And of course, when I got in here, I was having issues with it. And it gave me quite a fight. So the issue we had with it was actually the oscillators did not track well at all. And number 2 oscillator was dead completely, but actually I looked at it with a scope and it was running like 32 kilohertz. So it was actually running, it was just running way above audio range. And with these 2 oscillators, they share a circuit, and it was the exponential current converter had failed for oscillator 2 in the same circuit. It's inside the same chip, and of course broke down. So oscillator 1 did not track. So I replaced the exponential current conversion circuit, and they started tracking, but they sounded horrible. If you change the octave footages, they would go way out, wouldn't track at all, wouldn't hold tuning. You could go to 32, do a full calibration, go to 32, the upper note would be correct, lower note would be out, it'd be completely flat. And so I spent a lot of time trying to get that right. And what I ended up having to do was actually I went through and replaced all in a restoration I actually replace all the resistors associated with CV. I put in a really tight tolerance part, and that brings everything in really nice and tight, makes things hold tuning a lot better. So even with those new parts in there, it still wasn't holding tuning, or it wasn't tracking through the footages. So I went through every little detail. I checked timing capacitors, I checked FETs, I checked, you know, transistors to make sure there wasn't a transistor that was an issue. And I could not find anything, nothing wrong with it. So what I ended up doing is I came to the realization it was probably board contamination. I run into this sometimes. It's rare I see it on the oscillator board. It's usually always the keyboard circuit that has issues like this, where you'll hit a note and you'll just bleed off. Even though the sample and hold cap is good, the FETs are good, you'll still have a bleed off just because it's actually leaking through the circuit board material. Well, that's what this one had. So what I ended up doing was unpopulating the board of anything that's heat sensitive, such as the Tempco resistors, etc. And then I soaked the board in alcohol. I let it soak for a good while and absorb as much of that alcohol in the board as I could. And then I baked it out at 200 degrees. And that helps pull out anything that's in that board. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. In this case, it actually worked really, really well. So did that, repopulated the board, and then I replaced a few more components just as a preventive service because of the issues this one had. And it worked great, so no more problems with that. So that was the issue I had. It was actually in the circuit board material. It's rare I run into that, but this was one of those cases. But so I took care of that, and like I said, I just went through it and did all the typical stuff I do with these things, and got it playing great. Something else I did with this particular unit, I tried something a little bit different here on this unit. So the color, the keys were kind of discolored, which is, you know, not uncommon. You'll see them where I guess they had different plastic runs of the notes, and the plastic actually changes color. But this one here had some gouges in the plastic, and it also had, like somebody had tried to clean one of the keys with a Mr. Clean Dry Eraser. Don't use those on keys, guys. If you're thinking about using dry erasers on keys, what that actually does, it's a fine sanding. So it'll actually sand the surface and it'll give it a flat finish. So what I did to these keys, since it was already kind of messed up looking, I actually wet sanded the keys. So I took all the keys off, wet sand them with a really fine sandpaper, and then I polished them out with a rotary tool and some plastic compound. And so got them all polished out. Now they do have a matte finish, so the finish is not quite as shiny as what you'd find in the factory, and of course you can see fingerprints in it where I've been playing it. But you can just kind of see now how even and uniform they look across the keyboard, and that's what I was after. And of course when you polish these out, they'll look good. I usually use like a Fender rag, like for a guitar, and I'll go over it when I'm done. But I've been playing this thing pretty heavily. But did that. Of course, clean interface panel, really good for you. So actually hand washed all the knobs, got those cleaned up. Installed new Moog badges. This thing was missing the Moog badges. This is a new cabinet. And I believe this is a Wes Taggart cabinet, so shout out to you, Wes, because fantastic work. Every kit I've ever had from you is just fantastic. And looks really good. And so all I did was really condition the wood. Just give it a good condition. It's good to do that once a year. And so give it a good conditioning. And clean the LHC panel here. Did the dead zone mod as well for the pitch wheel, so it gives you a true dead center in the wheel, so you don't have any sharps or flats when you return the wheel to the detent. So it makes it much more playable. Walk here on back here. I cleaned the back panel up really good as well. Everything's cleaned up. And just show you, this is your serial number 6436. So that's your serial number there. And Phil had some modifications done to this one back in the day. And this is a fun instrument because it's actually got some history on it. So Phil had this thing modified where he could use external pedals with it. So it has a CV input and gate conversion in there. It also has CV out and gate out. So it's pretty nice feature there. And of course a selection switch, so he could select if he wanted it to be internal or external control. And he's the original owner. He bought this thing brand new in 1975 from Staff Music in Akron, Ohio. So that's pretty cool. I'll show you the sticker I left on here. So that's the kind of history behind this one. So you can see it says Staff Music. That's where he got it from. So just really cool. It's always cool to hear a story about the instrument that I'm working on. But once again, a Moog badge back here that was missing. So I put a new Moog badge there. And just cleaned it up really good. And of course you can see all the old parts here I replaced. The power cord was absolutely, it was ready to be replaced. You can see how it's been taped up a few times here. So it has a brand new power cord on it. So brand new power cord. And of course when I was redoing the keyboard, I had one broken black key at the back. It had been super glued together before, but it was of course broke loose again. So I had a donor key I put on that thing and replaced that. All the capacitors replaced and just all the parts. You can see some of the film caps now replaced. They're starting to deteriorate. Keyboard spring was the wrong spring for one of the keys, so I put a factory style spring back in it. Just kind of cleaned it up really good. And just tons of old parts there. So that's all the old parts. And did a full 12-hour burn-in, full calibration. And as you'll hear here in a second, just how great this thing sounds. But I'll give you one quick look again down the front here. This is a unit. And like I said, I'm very happy with how this Minimoog turned out. It gave me a little bit of fight, but it turned out really, really, really great. And I know you're going to be very happy with it here, Phil. But anyways, let me put the camera on the tripod here, and I'll make you guys a demo. Okay, so now I'm just going to start just by giving you a good demo here, Phil, just to give you a good overview of it. So right now I've just got a typical Minimoog set up as far as the sound goes. And I'll just be doing my usual. I'll be breaking it down into the oscillators, the filter, the envelope generators, etc. here, just to show you that everything is functioning the way it should. But anyways, here we go. We'll just start just with a typical Minimoog tone here I've built. So anyways, you can get an idea that the Minimoog's working very good. Spent a lot of time with these footages. That's where you had issues, as mentioned earlier. I had to spend a lot of time on that oscillator board getting that fixed. But anyways, just want to give you a quick demo of this unit as a whole. We got the filter opened up now. I'm going to go through each oscillator individually so you can actually hear the oscillators. So we'll go back down here, get them all set up the same, and I'll just kind of show you how this sounds. So here's just oscillator 1. Good clean volume pots. So there's oscillator 1. Here's oscillator 2. There's oscillator 2, and here's oscillator 3. Same thing there, a good volume pot. And as you've already heard, you've heard the footages together. I'm going to go through the footages right quick before I go to the oscillator detune. So we'll set everything to 2, and then turn on all 3 oscillators, and you can hear just how accurate everything is here. So you can hear all the octave ranges and how they work really well together. That's where I really had trouble, as mentioned, because I'd turn one, it would go way out and wouldn't calibrate, and ended up just having a lot of issues with the oscillator board itself. So anyways, you can hear now how great that works. I'll also show you too that your noise source works. Here's your noise source. Same thing here, clean the volume pot. So there's your noise source. And also I'll go back to and show you the dead zone mod right quick on oscillator 1. So we'll go here and set it to 8. And as mentioned, I do this to just about every Minimoog I get in here unless requested not. But it basically gives your wheel a true dead center. So you don't have any sharps or flats as you move the wheel. And it just makes this thing way, way more playable, as you'll hear. So as I wiggle it in the detent, you'll hear it will not affect tuning until I go outside the detent. So here we go. Anyways, you can see how great that wheel works now. It makes it way more playable because you don't have any sharps or flats when you use it. So that's your dead zone mod for your pitch wheel. I'll turn the oscillators back off here. Now we'll go through the filter. So I'm going to set the filter to self-oscillate, turn to 440 Hertz. So here's your filter, just tracking the keyboard. The oscillators are off. So you can hear how great your filter works there. Turn off the key tracking so it does not track the keyboard. We'll turn on just tracking 1. This is where you get those weird so there's 1, and then here's just 2. When you combine them though, that's where you get full tracking. So there's your filter. So now I'll go and show you the filter contour real quick. So we'll turn tracking off, turn it down in frequency. We'll bring up the mounted contour, set everything to 0. So here's just a click, bring up the decay. So as decay amount, here's your attack. And then here's your sustain level, which basically sets how low the decay goes. For example. So that's your contour generator for your filter. I'm going to show you the modulation for the filter as well. We'll go here and turn Oscillator 3 to a low frequency source, and I'll just kind of show you how this thing tracks. So there we go. So you can just kind of hear the modulation. So there's your modulation bus there. So that's just showing that the modulation works for your filter there. So that's your filter section. I'll show you that the loudness control works as well. So set everything to 0 here. So it'll be just a click. I'm going to turn the K switch on over here. So here's just a click right now. Turn this oscillator back on. So make a slow attack. So there's our attack. All the way to 0. And then we got the decay. Like so. And this also shows you that your decay switch works. So if we hit a key, we hit the decay switch, it turns that immediately to 0. So there's the decay time. We got the sustain level. Back to a click. We'll bring up the decay just a little bit. As you get those really percussive kind of effects there. So there's your loudness control. And so now I'm actually going to go back and show you the oscillators. I did forget to show you the detune feature of the oscillators and how I've cleaned those pots as well. So we'll go here and just turn on oscillator 1 and 2. So here's oscillator 2, or 3. Let me actually make this thing. There we go. Here's oscillator 2 again by itself. So there's your oscillators, and so that works really well. Also, we can modulate the oscillators as well, so we'll go here and go to low frequency mode on oscillator 3, and we'll modulate the oscillators. we can also inject noise into the oscillator, the modulation bus. As you can hear, so there's your modulation there. Same thing with the filter. We can also turn the oscillators back off here, close that filter up. The noise is really more impressive in the filter. So if we go here and we can also still go back and make this audio range oscillator. So now it's FM synthesis kind of stuff going on. So anyways, you can kind of hear the film stuff that you can do as well. Also, I'll show you the glide real quick. So let me open this filter up. You've already heard the glide a little bit, but I'll show you just how it works as well here. Let's go back here and set this up to a... So anyways, that's your Minimoog. So that's pretty much all the functions of it here. We also have where we can plug into the overload. I'm going to show you that real quick. I never have demoed this for people, but I had a request to demo the overload circuit. So give me a minute, I got to go get a cable. Okay, I'm now going to give you a demo of the feedback you can do with a Minimoog. I don't do this very often, but it is something you can do with a Minimoog. To me personally, it makes it really muddy, and it's already a very powerful instrument anyways. It has plenty of gain and just growly tones. But this is just something you can do if you just really want to make it more gritty, more, I don't know, I guess the presence even greater. So what we do is we take this cable here, we're going to plug it from the input, and actually you'd want to go to the high output to really get the best results. This Minimoog's been modified with extra high output jack, so it's got the same jack. If you go to low output, you won't get quite the overload that you would get from the high output. But of course you can see as soon as I hit a key, you'll see the overload light up. And then if we engage that, see here it's more aggressive, but you lose the characteristic of the filter. So if we turn it back off here, You can hear the emphasis right there. If we turn it on, of course you can bring it up even higher. There it is without it. There it is with it. So you can hear a definite change in the tone. So you can hear how it gets really aggressive. There it is without it. Now I've got it just toned down so it's not clipping. But you can hear you lose the detail of the actual emphasis of the filter when you have it engaged. That's typically why I don't use it, because I'm always after that filter characteristic. But that's just my taste. You know, if you're looking for something really aggressive though, you can definitely do this. And of course, if you open that filter up, you can hear it gets really muddy really quick. So that's the actual overload and feedback loop you can do to Minimoog. Like I said, if you go to the low output, so go to just the low output, because this typically, all the Minimoog typically has is a high output, low output, and then the external input. So that's the extra feature of this Minimoog that Phil had added earlier on when he was using it. So now we've got it just into the low output. You'll see it doesn't quite have the drive. It's not quite as aggressive as it is in the high output. As you can see with the filter shut up, you don't even notice you have any feedback. So you can see you don't really notice it as much in the actual low output. But anyways, that's the feedback circuit. And I just had a request to do that, like I say, and wanted to demo that real quick for you. But anyways, once again, Phil, appreciate you letting me restore this Minimoog for you, bringing it back to good health. And all you guys that watch, appreciate all you watching, and there'll be more to come here very soon. Take care.